Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing? We're going to get started here in a second. My name is Mary Lee, Director of Customer Success at Onfleet, and so excited here today to speak with Ben Whittle from Toolbox. We'll get started here in about a minute. Let some other folks join us, and excited to share what Ben and Toolbox has to say about how they use Onfleet. So we'll give everybody just a few seconds to join us, and excited to have this webinar today. All right, we are going to get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Lee, Director of Customer Success at Onfleet. I'm excited to host today's webinar with Ben Whittle at Toolbox. Let me introduce you to Ben. We will have the opportunity to answer questions, so please feel free to add questions to the Q&A box, and we will answer them throughout and also at the end of our session. So let me go ahead and start sharing and walk you through our agenda. But excited to have Ben here today. Let's tell you a little bit more about Ben. So Ben is the head of operations at Toolbox. He's employee number 17, and he started as a driver, but now he leads operations across all the major cities in Canada for Toolbox. In his free time, he scouts for hockey players for the Semi-Pro League and hangs out with his miniature Aussie. Ben, tell me a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. First of all, I just want to say, thank you for everybody joining today. I'm excited to talk about Toolbox. I think we have some really cool initiatives that we're undertaking, and we're constantly growing business. And I do think we use Onfleet in a pretty cool way throughout all sides of the business. And so hopefully we can shed some light onto some things that might help your business and help you to optimize, your daily routes, as we all know is a grind. So just making sure that all that is in line is super important to the business. So like Mary said, I started off as a driver originally. When this company first started, it was super small. And I did really believe in the future of the company. We'll get into that a little bit, but essentially what we do is delivery of construction materials and on demand, right? And through an app. So it was something I had worked some construction and landscaping jobs in the past. I saw the need for it. And one of my good buddies had gotten in really early, and he said, hey, you want to come work for us? So I started out as a driver, and I do think that gave me a pretty unique experience, right? Like I know the dealers very well from going to the stores and doing the orders, kind of know the roads very well. And then also even some of our drivers who I used to work with on the road are still out there for us years later. So I have a good relationship with them. And actually, I can relate to the drivers as well, day to day, what they're going through, the grind of delivering construction materials. So I think it gives me a great perspective, and I've just leveraged that as much as I can throughout my tenure at Toolbox. Rose up the ranks and just, put my head down and kept working towards this eventual position. And then I do some scouting at routing by day, scouting by night, I like to say, and I just so it's more of a passion. It's something that I really do enjoy doing, and so I spend a lot of times at the rinks either watching or playing myself. So it is definitely a passion, but something I just do on the side more for fun, and of course taking care of my dog is a big part of my life as well.
That is awesome. Very cool. Yeah. Would love to be you. So Ben, tell us a little bit more about Toolbox then. So we talked
Absolutely,
a little bit about you. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you go to the next slide there. Or... Yeah, perfect. So I think over the life of Toolbox, we've done a lot of different things, and even still till this day, we're constantly growing, right? And I think that's the mark of a startup that is finding its niche and really hammering home like what we're good at and figuring out ways to bring technology and new age innovations to customers all across Canada, really, and hopefully into the United States very soon. So really what we do work in a few different models, really three main models, and I'll go through all three of them, right? So the first one, which is the original version of the app, the business, was the app. So you could go on your phone, download Toolbox right onto your phone, and then order materials with the click of a button. And we would show up and deliver them. And even back in the day, we used to deliver coffees. We used to have a little coffee machine in our truck and act like a little barista as well. And that was a fun time. But that was when we were really trying to grow the business, and it was a lot of fun at that time. So it's really transitioned, and now we're working into new models, right? So we have a whole e-commerce platform, similar to like about a Shopify, right? Where we bring on all of these dealers and we bring them into the new age. Like I said, they kind of sometimes stuck in the past. Some of their websites aren't as clean as they would like it to be. And we bring these templates, we bring experience of dealing with all of the customers and construction material delivery and logistics. And then we connect our dealers through their online platforms, e-commerce marketplace. And then we take that, connect it with our 3PLs, and fulfill the deliveries on behalf of Toolbox and them as well. So we do represent us as a company, and we do represent our dealers as a company. So it's obviously we got to bring our best foot forward, and we bring in the best 3PL contractors that we have to ensure that everybody receives a high quality of standard. And we have really, being as a driver myself, instituted since the very beginning of Toolbox of making sure customers get what they wanted and going above and beyond each time. And then finally, kind of the third way that we operate is we have some major partners. One of our major partners is Lowe's and Rona as well. They're the same company, and we work with them all across Canada, which has given us amazing leverage, really, because we can really launch wherever we want pretty quickly, right? Because we have such a big grasp, on that side of the business for Rona Lowe's. We do so much for them, and we work really well with them. We have great relationships across stores in Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, all the way out to Vancouver on the West Coast. So we've been very fortunate to partner with them. They're a great partner for us. We work in unison day to day. A lot of calls with them on a store-to-store level and at higher levels as well. And really working with them to just expand. And then that gives us the leverage to, hey, if we want to open up shop with this dealer out there, I know some smaller lumber yards out in Vancouver, we can easily do that because we already have the trucks on the ground. We have the logistics in place already. So those are kind of the three ways that we operate. And really just, a lot of the focus these days is on the marketplace e-commerce side, because I think that we found a very good avenue where we have the tech, we have the engineering behind us, and then we have the partnerships with the 3PL logistics, and really being able to bring your mom and pop lumber shop into the digital world, which is, I think, a great area of need.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about how you're doing that. So first of all, you guys have an app.
Yeah. So this is our app. This is what, if you were to download just on your phone. So there's two kind of main ways that people order. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen. That is simply is what we would call like Toolbox Concierge internally, and it's simply like if you need something, it's pretty much the simplest way. Like I have buddies who are renovating their places, and they come on here, and you can just get material delivered. And we have different scheduled and express windows. So you can, schedule it to come at a certain time of the day. You can schedule it to come as soon as possible, which is a 3-hour express. And then it's like morning and afternoon sort of scheduled, and those come with an extra cost, obviously, or a same day order. If you're a prepared general contractor and you got your day in a line and you know what you're doing one day and you can prepare for the next day, same day might be good for you. And then, you just simply click on those. We have a pretty extensive product catalog, actually, that is based off of a lot of what some of the major big box stores supply. So you can find pretty much anything you need in there, from lumber to drywall, insulation, caulking, anything really, screws. It's all in there, right? So we're a one-stop shop in that sense. And then if you go to the right side of the screen, those are some of our partners. So those those are some of our major partners. New Canadians and Downtown Lumber especially are two of the biggest lumber yards in Toronto, and they supply, you know, a lot of specialty lumber too, which is very important for building homes. They supply that, so people are constantly using that, and what that is their entire product catalog is within our app as well. So you can go right into the app, you can choose New Canadians, and you can get whatever product catalog they have. It's all in there. And then this is actually, so this is more of the new age. So that old picture there was something that was kind of there for a while, but this is sort of the new age where if you actually go to New Canadians Lumber, or this is Downtown Lumber, there's another slide, New Canadians, but Downtown Lumber, go to their website and you can see powered by Toolbox. So you can actually go to their website and eventually order through us as well. You have many options, right? The same similar options of delivery, but time windows, but you can actually choose to have the dealer deliver it if it's like a very, very large order, right? And you want it moffated off or you know, machine used it off, and then, or you can pick it up yourself. So those are actually options within our their online platform that you can choose. So you don't necessarily even have to deliver it through Toolbox, and that's sort of where we are, that e-commerce marketplace. We take care of all the transactions, a lot of the emails and stuff like that. And even, you know, somewhere down the line, we're going to be doing like social media promotion for them as well. So that's kind of like where we're, you know, really hoping to take that next step. And I think it makes it viable, you know, pretty much anywhere in Canada or even into the United States where we can, you know, like I said, take them into the new age and make marketplace and bring people online and make it seamless, right? Because we have these templates. We have everything in store, and frankly, we have a fantastic engineering team behind us. So, yeah, I think if you go to the next one, you see New Canadians. It's similar, slightly different, but yeah, another great partner of ours who have done fantastic work with us right from the beginning. They've really grown along with us, helped us grow, helped us become this big company, and then, you know, we're really happy to get on board with this e-commerce marketplace as well.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. So it's not just that you're providing delivery services. In fact, you have this like whole technology stack and ecosystem that you've built. And now companies that were not really online are now online and have access to your customers and to a wider base of customers. So this is fantastic. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a super exciting initiative, and I think we're doing a really great job of rolling it out so far.
Yeah, very, very cool. So that's Toolbox. As you can see, pretty, very cool company and nice technical stack there. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about how do they do routing and how does Onfleet fit into all of this, as well as how do they use Onfleet metadata, and then how do they use Onfleet metadata to automate their invoicing. So it's going to be really helpful to hear from you, Ben, just how you guys do it, and you know, how does Onfleet fit into all of this. So let's talk a little bit about routing. Sure. How do you guys do it?
Yeah, so I think it's definitely very similar to a lot of, I'm sure, what your customers would do, but really for us, it's the most challenging thing for us is that we are delivering construction material, right? And that makes it challenging as opposed to food deliveries or flowers, right? We're dealing with something that is bulky, heavy items that, you know, frankly, can take up a lot of vehicles' space in their vehicle, and managing those sort of routes day in, day out can be challenging, especially when you're dealing with express or regular orders, same day orders, right? Like we have a time slot, and then when you're dealing with general contractors as well, they're paying people to be on their site. So if you mess up, then you're going to hear it, right? So that's the important part that we really utilize Onfleet for, and you know, the ETAs and everything, and the certain flags that Onfleet has where you can actually turn off and on the filter for if something's going to be late, and quickly get onto that aspect of it and say, oh, this order is going to be late, let me rearrange it. So I did lose that slide there.
Oh, sure. Okay. Let me share that.
No problem. But yeah, so it's and like I said, it's really about managing day to day, constantly rerouting, constantly figuring out what the best route would be to get this as efficiently as possible, ensuring our time windows are met, because that is pretty much number one, most important for my perspective. I think it's we don't want to be late. Like I said, the general contractors can get pretty angry pretty quickly. So I've dealt with that a lot in my day. So I like to avoid that as much as possible. And then ensuring we have high utilization, right? So hey, if this guy is picking up an order at one store and he can fit another one on top of it, let's make sure that the material list can actually fit inside that vehicle. So we have different vehicle categories. We have big Sprinter vans. We have some vans that can take 20 feet, and then we have smaller cargo vans who can buzz around really quickly, provide help if another driver needs it, and then really utilize those vehicles as much as possible. So batching and optimizing that, multiple pickups at one store is very important as well, just for efficiency and for our owner operators and everything. They appreciate that, and then also making sure that our drivers are working throughout the day and staying constantly busy. And then we do in fact share our Onfleets, which I think is a fantastic feature. Really do, that we can have so many of our owner operators individually. They can either see everything, we can limit that, or they can see just their drivers, and they can sort of control, hey, this is how I want it routed. So in one portion of our business, we do actually offload that to our owner operators for them to route as efficiently as possible. It's a little bit, I don't want to say simpler side of the business, but it's less time sensitive. So they do have kind of a big 12-hour window where they can choose the best routes and efficiently for them, that makes sense for them. And frankly, that helps us to get a good price, frankly, from our owner operators, because they control the logistics. They control that side of the business themselves amongst their drivers, and they're super happy with it. We're in constant communication with them all day long about different issues that come up, but it does make it so it's a great environment to work in, really, because you do work very closely with your 3PLs. You're kind of all on the same page. We have weekly meetings just to sync up on everything, but at the end of the day, we chat all day, right? So we're constantly in conversation with each other. And that's a fantastic feature of Onfleet that we utilized a lot. Back in the day, we used to not let people see them because we didn't want that competition. But now that we've kind of spread out and have multiple sides of the business that we can sort of afford to give one to one owner operator and more to the other guys, it's been a very handy tool for us that we've utilized in the last year or so.
Yeah, and I would say that functionality is at the enterprise plan tier, where you can have these sub-orgs or connected accounts, and allows you to assign a whole account to an owner operator. And I think that's a pretty unique way of doing business, that Toolbox does business. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's honestly, frankly, I was a little bit skeptical when we first started doing it, but it's worked out tremendously. And I think it gives it makes the owner operators also feel like, they're a part of the business, not just like, there's accountability aspect for them too, right? And if everybody's watching it, we can hold them accountable if mistakes happen. And I think it's, like I said, it's been a tremendous asset to us.
Nice. So Ben, I'm sure lots of people probably are wondering, so how do you go about deciding what products go, I know you said there's certain trucks that are bigger than others. How do you decide, how do you batch, how do you order all of these large construction materials?
Yeah, so it's a great question. It can be challenging. Sometimes if somebody's new to the job, it can be, and they don't take quite enough time to look at the material list, it can mess stuff up and all of a sudden everything unfolds. So you do have to be very vigilant about how you're routing and making sure that everything is aligned, right? So we do have order size categories, right? And then it is displayed on, once we go to the task details, you'll see it'll be like large order and stuff like that, right? And then you can see the material list is, let's say maybe 16-foot lumber pieces or what have you. So those obviously need to go into a vehicle that we have displayed on our Onfleet tab. It's labeled at the top. The driver's 16-foot vehicle can carry up to 3,250 pounds, 3,250 pounds. So that's our maximum per order, and that's all actually within the app itself, right? So you can't order more than that. So that's kind of like where the max weight is based off of how much the drivers can actually take themselves, because we don't actually use any sort of equipment, unfortunately. So our guys are out on the road, they're hand bombing everything. And, it makes it for a great customer experience because, we can get it, we deliver it wherever they really want on site. We have a white glove option where we can bring it to the main floor. So that's super handy for drywall. Obviously it comes with a cost, but for things like drywall and stuff like that, it's pretty commonly used because, a lot of the specialty drywallers, they don't want to be doing that. They're hired to put up the drywall, not to carry it in. So we kind of found that mold of being also like a little bit of higher labor in a sense, without going too far into that world because, people try to push you down. So, and try to get you to go as far as possible into the house. We're like, hey, you got to settle down a little bit. So that's the one thing that's always been a balance. But it's really just managing that, making sure when you're looking at the order originally in our Salesforce, kind of what's on it. When you push it out into Onfleet, it's even good to quickly double check, and then routing it, optimizing it. So it's a lot of times it's like, hey, if you got a large order, put that with a small. Or if they're kind of, the drop-off locations are close and it's two mediums, then you can make sure that those go together. But you do have to be super careful, right? Because like I said, the time windows are very important. And I guess one thing I'll quickly touch on too is we do have pickers in store who are prepping our orders for a lot of the phone app. I call it marketplace myself, even though there's the e-com marketplace. But when somebody orders, right, we have pickers in store. We actually have a whole picker task generated to that essentially is the duplicate of the pickup. You assign that to the picker, and then you assign that to the driver. So the picker gets it on his phone. He's sitting in our big box store. He gets everything wrapped, ready to go, load into the guy's vehicle. He shows up, drives off. So the drivers aren't actually doing any of the picking. We have pickers for that in store. And then, so it's a great partnership. And then, obviously these big box stores are happy because we're bringing in quite a good amount of money to them each and every day. And so they actually, in some cases, have employees dedicated to helping us get our orders out every day. So,
nice. That's a great partnership. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one thing I'll say is we do have a multi-capacity constraint beta feature that if you wanted to limit your route optimization with weight or some sort of metric, you can actually do that. But yeah, that is definitely, I would say, in the construction materials business, probably a pretty big consideration for you. So tell us a little bit more about like how the information flows from one system to the next.
Absolutely, yeah. So originally, somebody places the order on the app. It goes through, into our API and our admin, Toolbox admin flows through that. And then it originally goes into Salesforce. So Salesforce is a big player for us. I think that's another great aspect of Onfleet is its integration with Salesforce is amazing. And what that allows us to do is give visibility to our entire company, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a sales rep, if you're in engineering, if you're in anything, right? You can always bring up accounts and all the order information. If you're in customer service, everything is stored sort of in Salesforce. And that integration between Onfleet is seamless, right? It's very fantastic. If you can pretty much track anything you want from Onfleet and send it back into Salesforce for you to have it in there. So we'll get into that a little bit more, but like one of the main things that we really utilize that for, outside of just the orders, and the database and everything being in the Salesforce, is on time percentage. So there is the geocoded window of, I think it's like about 500 meters, right? Where somebody, if they come in into that window where the drop-off location is, that sort of triggers, this is the driver has arrived. And we leverage that very much so. So that's where I do like my daily reports of on time percentage, and pass that on if I've seen a certain driver is showing up late, consistently. All that information is sent back to Salesforce. I can quickly make dashboards. I can quickly run reports based off of whatever I really need. And that connection between Onfleet and Salesforce makes it very, very simple. So the syncing of the drivers and everything, so you can get the individual drivers onto your Salesforce report and have that all laid out, is integral to our quality control, really. And that is something that I, take pride in myself, making sure that, we're bringing the best drivers to our customers each and every day and fulfilling orders on time. And that's sort of very important that we have that information transferred back and forth between Salesforce. And then, it goes into Onfleet. The order is delivered. We have the pictures that the drivers take to complete the task. And then those pictures are sent back into Salesforce as well, connected in the order. And frankly, that's how our billing team makes sure that they can invoice an order. They look at all the pictures. They say, count the lumber, count the insulation, count the drywall, and say, okay, this order is good to go. And then they invoice the customer for it. So, it's a fantastic partnership. I think, I'm sure there's a lot of other programs that Onfleet is integrated with, but for us, Salesforce and the Onfleet integration has been tremendous ever since we first used it, and the possibilities are seemingly endless. So it's been fantastic.
That's great. So let's talk about that in a little bit more. Toolbox uses metadata in Onfleet, and I don't think all of our customers know what metadata is or what our options are, but basically it's just extra data fields in Onfleet that you can create. But you guys have used it in a very smart way. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you use our metadata fields and how that helps you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So this was a major thing that we've actually taken on somewhat recently, I would say. We kind of always had like that synchronization between Salesforce and Onfleet. But lately we've really taken it to the next level. And one of the main things is, so you get all the task details. I think in our past lifeline of Toolbox, we did do hourly wage to our drivers, right? So frankly, it was a little bit simpler in those times in terms of paying out and tracking. If somebody clocks in and then they clock out at the end of the day, that's how much you pay them. So pretty simple. And then there was like kilometers that were being tracked, and that was all through Onfleet, sending back to Salesforce. But now we've kind of taken a different direction in terms of that. And we are more of a revenue share company, which I think is, personally, I think it's made tremendous strides in our company, really holds, our owner operators accountable, make sure that everybody's on the same page. And then they're doing it efficiently and not wasting time, frankly, which they could do if they were hourly, right? So unfortunately, that is the reality of it. So getting on the rev share model was huge. And a lot of that is very simple through the metadata. So things like large order sizes are different, obviously, costs than a medium or a small, and stuff like that. So that's a huge part. And then an interesting thing that we just recently added, honestly, like in the past 2-3 weeks, was this driver portal. So that is a very cool initiative, something that our engineering team has done a fantastic job in building that out. And it's actually linked into, it's one of our big box suppliers who it's their orders in particular. A lot of them don't have the driver portal added, which, I mean, again, is really cool that you can customize that in itself within Onfleet and say, only send this out to the big box customer, not this other side marketplace, right? So they have this driver portal. And essentially what that is it's a little bit of a connection to our internal systems for the driver on the road. So he has it on his task. He can click right into it, and it, without logging into any third party or anything, he has access to update the order as he sees fit. So, there has to go through a vetting process where we actually end up confirming it on the back end and say, yeah, he's right. This is a large order or something like that. So that's a really cool feature that we've taken advantage of. And then, so that's kind of the simple metadata right there. And then the other thing that was recently done too was the updated information. So we've gone through this new change where we are sort of pushing a lot of our orders immediately into Onfleet, and actually it's really cool. I don't know how my engineering team did it. There are some smart people in that group, but they were able to actually make it so if a customer goes into an order and says, hey, I need this put into the garage, after they've already placed the order originally, the order comes into our system and everything, and they say, hey, I actually want this in the garage, or can you contact Jeremy on site? It'll immediately flow through our API, flow through everything, Salesforce, our admin, and right into the driver's task list without even having to go through us, go through customer service or anything. It's automated, and that's the future of Toolbox is coming up with automation and making sure it's a good customer experience as well still. So yeah, that's sort of like the high level, I would say, of the metadata so far.
Yeah, so amazing things that you guys do with automation and with your API. So let's talk specifically then. I mean, there's a lot of data that you put into a task, and I don't think everybody knows that you can put all this information into an Onfleet task. So tell us a little bit more about what you guys decided to put in here and how that helps you.
Yeah, so I think like I alluded to a little bit before, there was the driver arrival times and the completion times, right? So that's huge for us, even in terms of, we'll get into it I think in the next slide, but in terms of our suppliers and ensuring that they're on top of their end of our arrangements. We have everything in there from like the pickup task locations. We have the order sizes, like I said, and then we have more things like who's routed it, so we can hold people accountable who's somebody's messed up, and you can pull all that stuff, right? And really make it as customizable as you want, bringing in the Toolbox number, the purchase order number to track those, and using all different types of anything that you can really come up with. I do think metadata can support that. So that's the really exciting thing that I found with using it, is just pretty much anything that we really want to track, we do. And that's so I think it's something that's really tremendous. I think if we go to the next slide, I can sort of explain a little bit more as well, because I think that'll be more around like the invoicing and stuff like that. So this is where it gets very cool. It's a little bit of a high level, right? So the use of metadata has made it so that we can invoice in a variety of ways. If it's something that we need to sort of hold our suppliers accountable for some of our wait times at a supplier, or if we need to say, hey, this was your drivers for our 3PL customers or 3PL partners, these are their orders for the day, and then making sure that corroborates with what they're providing us as well, so we're all on the same page, everybody's on the same page, and we're properly charging and paying out our 3PL customers as well. So and I think the big one for us lately has been the wait times, and that's one of the biggest things that we've used the metadata for, is quickly sorting through that at suppliers, and that gives us plenty of options. Really, it's really twofold. So we can highlight problematic stores. If like, let's say we have this one supplier who's really not holding up their end of the bargain, everything's supposed to be picked, packed, and ready to go. That's our agreement with our suppliers. And if it's not, then that should incur a cost. And I think what the metadata has allowed us to do, there was a time when we weren't. It was like a kind of a struggle where we were dealing with how long are we going to sit there waiting for orders, and it's really impacting our efficiencies. But then we don't want to let our customers down. We want to make sure that we're fulfilling their orders for them day in, day out, and not having this back and forth. Well, why'd your guy leave? Blah blah blah. So that was something that we were like, hey, we need to all come together here and figure out a solution to this issue. And the best way we did that was through the metadata and tracking that. So if you go to the next one, I think you should be able to see some of the invoices. It's a little bit of a rough thing. It's just through the so exporting them into like an Excel spreadsheet and then sorting them from there. It's a little bit tricky at first. The first time you do it, you do have to sort of sort and spread out based off of some Excel formulas, but it's pretty simple. Once you get it down, it's you'll sort it pretty easily. But yeah, the top was something that we would send kind of our 3PL partners, and send them different spreadsheets like that. Like, hey, this is what your driver did today. These were his orders. You can do order size, large, what have you, and then send that off to them. And then they would send us back their invoice, making sure that it's all on the same page. With, when we were doing that through Salesforce, originally it wasn't aligning, and it was a pretty big problem. People were getting frustrated. And then we really expanded the metadata. I had leveraged my connections with Anthony, who's our sales manager at Onfleet, and he really helped me sort through that, which was fantastic. And then we really hammered that home, and there's like, all of a sudden, we had no issues with it anymore, which was fantastic. And then at the bottom, it is kind of some of our supplier wait time. So you can sort the task by pickups, you can sort the task by TV numbers, you can sort the tasks by pickup location, if it's a certain location you're looking for. Very simply, it doesn't take much time at all. And then there's the all time dated, down to like the second, right? So you can literally see how long exactly he spent at that place. And we have these agreements in place, and it's not a hidden cost or anything. These are agreements we have with our suppliers that say, hey, if it's over a certain amount of time, then we will be charging for it. And we have all that data set out in for them, and they can access, like, not access the metadata, but we can provide it for them very easily, right? So it's become a seamless relationship. And like I said, I think it all starts with the metadata, tracking all that, and then being able to easily export that when we need to on the fly is super, super helpful. And providing that to our partners, and then saying, hey, like, this store in particular versus this store is costing us 40 minutes per day. You want to talk to the manager at this store to increase that. And like I said, we're not leaving the store. Our drivers aren't getting frustrated because they're technically getting paid to wait there if it's necessary, right? So that's sort of where it's become super helpful to have the metadata, and utilizing that as much as possible has been tremendous for us, and really helped us to ensure that we're providing a good customer experience for our customers, our suppliers, their customers, and then also our 3PLs are making sure they're not wasting their time as well.
Yeah, that's a really powerful way to leverage all the information that you have in Onfleet. I think, as you mentioned earlier, you see that chain of custody, you see the timestamps of everything. And now what you're doing is you're taking that information and using that to track wait time, as you said. I think, so I think that's really powerful. The other is that having that metadata field, even just having that order ID is a really helpful way to ID each task, and then link it back to customers and what they purchased and things like that. So really great usage of all of that information and data, and automating your processes. So this is really, really nice, and I appreciate you sharing this with us. So we'll go into your pro tips. So pro tips from Ben Whittle. What would you suggest and recommend?
I thought this was going to be about scouting. No, I'm kidding.
That too.
So I think really what's super important, it is a little bit small on the screen here, but I think one of the things I had said was, as Anthony was our contact at Onfleet, and he was a tremendous for us. So every time I needed him, he was around, and he would take back my questions and see if there was anything we could do. We were really trying to dig into the metadata and sort through all that. He was a tremendous help. So I would reach out and see. It sort of correlates with my last point there, but I think leveraging that relationship with your account manager at Onfleet is huge. And they can tell you some things that you might not have known. Sometimes, I use Onfleet every single day for 4 years now, and I can still learn stuff about it, right? So I think I would say
that people can reach out to success@onfleet.com if you don't know who your success manager is, or you can reach out to support@onfleet.com if you have more of like a technical support question. But yes, we love to be available and supportive for you guys.
Yeah, awesome. And in my lifeline working with Onfleet, nothing but great help. So and I think figuring out
what you want from the metadata, I think is super, super important, right? Because you can customize it to do whatever you want. Like we've found that sort of those aspects that I highlighted are important to us, but there might be certain things, that are more impactful for your business. So figuring out what you want there and to highlight in the metadata and figuring out a way to get that from, anybody at Onfleet to help you sort of institute that into your metadata and then sorting it. And I think another thing that I had highlighted was sorting the teams. So, I'm sure everybody, if you do use Onfleet frequently, you can sort, we have it set up where it's set up by certain teams or regions. So we have like Montreal, Ottawa, whatever, Toronto, and you can easily export the data just by those fields. So it's like, hey, if you want to make sure that you're only tracking this owner operator or the orders that are coming from Ottawa, you can export those tasks and grouping them into the teams that you would most likely need to sort the information that you're looking for. I think that's super important. So that's kind of like where we, I have it all broken down. This owner operator here, this owner operator here, Montreal owner operator, that kind of stuff. So that is what I think is a big pro tip.
Yeah, some things, yes. So teams information and driver information, sometimes you have to add as a separate metadata field. So I think that is a great pro tip.
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, those would be my main pro tips when it comes to utilizing the metadata, utilizing Onfleet as much as possible.
Awesome. Ben, thank you so much. Really appreciate having you. And so one thing I would say is we have another webinar coming up. So we love highlighting our customers. If you'd like to be a webinar participant with me, please let me know. I'd love to have you. So on Wednesday, January 26th is our next customer highlight. So Shelby Taylor from Farm to People is going to talk about how they've scaled and curated their experience to disparate customer bases with Onfleet connections and suborgs. So you can register for this soon on onfleet.com/webinars. You can also listen to our old webinars or previous webinars at onfleet.com/webinars. So join us. So we have a few questions here from the audience that I want to ask Ben, and I know other folks want to hear from him as well. So let me go through some of these questions here. So here we go. So one question was, do you use Zapier? And I think for the Toolbox team, Zapier is a no-code solution that you can use if you don't have your own API. So an API is it's Zapier, but you've built it. So I don't know if you wanted to elaborate on that question.
So we do try to use it somewhat. We don't use it as frequently anymore as we used to, but we do have some features that we do use. And I think we've kind of steered away from that a little bit, but it was something that we kind of used more in the past, but we do use it kind of our own engineering team for a lot of stuff these days.
Okay, so you do use it, but a lot of that, I think you graduate from using Zapier to maybe your own API, which is a lot more customizable and more code. Okay, so another question, if you had to do this all over again, what would you do differently, Ben?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Honestly, I think not much. I think right from the beginning, I think for our purposes of our company, I think we would have gone revenue share. I think when we were first starting out, we were trying to, we didn't understand how much Onfleet could really do in that aspect with the metadata and everything. So it was challenging. Hey, how are we going to make sure that we're charging appropriately and everybody's getting paid appropriately? And I think that was one of the main things for us. So, yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I don't think everybody really kind of thinks that as the first thing. But I think for you guys, it's really helped with a real partnership with those who are helping you deliver. So that's interesting. So an Onfleet question. What do you love about Onfleet, which you've already said a lot? And then what would you like to change? What would you like to see Onfleet change?
That's another good question. I mean, I think just from what I love about Onfleet, I just love how easy and seamless it is. I think a lot of times, bringing on new people is very easy and makes it something that we can really utilize and transfer to new people, or we can transfer to our owner operators and train them up relatively quickly. So that would be the one thing I really love about it. I think it's super user friendly. And I really enjoy that aspect of it, making sure that everybody's on the same page, everybody can view it, and finding ways to utilize it. And even with the metadata, sorting that when somebody in the billing team gets their hands on it, they can easily do it. And it's just a really user-friendly database that I find. So that would be my thing that I love about it, and really just the fact that it tells you really everything you need, right? It tells you ETAs, it tells you what's orders late, it tells you all that. If I had to say one thing, I do know that Onfleet has like the little flags where you can change the colors based off of different tasks, but that would be I think a more extents down that road, I think would be the one thing that I would say if it was really, really noticeable, because sometimes the flags can kind of be blended in their colors. But if it was really highlighted, hey, this is a completely different order type than this order, for quick viewing purposes, that would be my one thing that I would say potentially. But other than that, I mean, to be honest with you, I really do love Onfleet, so don't have too many. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's a pro tip too. Not everybody knows that they can actually color code and add flags to tasks. And so the fact that you have like express deliveries and regular deliveries and you color code those, I think that's a pro tip already. And then if you wanted those flags to be a little bit bigger, we hear you. We'd love to work on that. And I think the product team will definitely take a look. So last question for you then for today. What would you say is the future for Toolbox? I think you kind of highlighted where you're going, but what would you say is the future for Toolbox and also for hockey? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
If you want to answer that last question, you can.
Yeah, for sure. I'll say that for the end. But I would say the future for Toolbox is the e-commerce, the marketplace, right? So that's in terms of engineering, money, and everything. That's where we're spending a lot of our resources, focusing on that. And then from operations perspective, it's automation. So for a long time in Toolbox, it's been a very manual process. I mean, if you go back in the day, it's a long time ago now, but to see where we've come to now is pretty cool. But I mean, I was in the stores on my phone with the guy being like, all right, okay, do you want this screw? Do you want this screw? And going from there to where we can sort of make it where everything is automated, where we have very little interaction, right? And that's just simply really sourcing of materials and stuff like that, where it gets a little bit complicated, right? Like you can have all that within Onfleet for sure, but that's where we need to leverage that based off of our business personally at Toolbox, and we're getting close. So a lot of the e-commerce marketplace, that whole aspect of it, where we're not really sourcing materials, we're simply fulfilling the deliveries. That makes it a lot easier, right? Where they're doing all the legwork of sourcing the materials, confirming with the customer, and then putting it into our system as confirmed. As long as we have the categories coded based off of weight, lengths, and everything like that to fit on specific drivers, which is definitely possible. I don't think it's that far away, but that's where the future of the company is. We're moving sort of our dispatching roles day to day, making it very seamless, and then integrating that with Onfleet and back to our Salesforce and our admin panel, and linking those together and making it so it is a fully automated company. We're getting there. We've made some great changes even in the past 2-3 weeks around that, and we just need to really get the whole business in that mold. And I think then that makes scalability, everything super easy, and really removes a lot of manual legwork that is still currently involved in the business.
Yeah. More automation. Just a plug here. If you don't have your own API and you'd like for Onfleet to help you, our professional services team can create an API connection for you with all of the systems that you have, be it Salesforce or be it an ERP. And then I would say also, as you're building your tech stack, Ben, having other people help you with delivery. So we have a a certified network of delivery providers that you could potentially work with as well in our Onfleet delivery network. So, so yeah, more automation and really great to hear all of these pro tips from you. So, Ben, thank you. Anything about the future of hockey?
Yeah, I think, yeah, if you ever want any, if anybody has kids out there that play and you want to get some, hit me up and I can do some video research and stuff like that. But yeah, no, just daily grind, going to the rinks and making sure, I know who's the next up and comers and making sure I'm on top of them and not missing anything. So yeah, but that's definitely just a passion of mine. So it's good to talk about it whenever I get the chance. And yeah, so if you need to reach out to me, Ben at Toolbox is a great connection. I'm always constantly in there. That's my email, TOOLBX. Toolbox is how you pronounce it, but read it toolbx.com. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for all your help with this, Mary. I think I was very excited to get out and speak with everybody. I hope everybody learned stuff. And if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me, whether it's routing or scouting. I'm happy to I'm happy to help with anything.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ben. Really appreciate you. And thanks everyone for joining. All right. Thanks everyone.
See ya.